Eternals, the brand new film inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we follow these godlike immortal beings who've been around on Earth since 500 BC. And their whole thing is that they cannot interfere with humans. They cannot interfere with us. That's why they can't. When the snap happened or the blimp, they didn't stop Thanos. They didn't stop this or Ultron or any of these other events that in the MCU they didn't stop interfere because they are not allowed to. But what they can interfere with is when these creatures come around called the Deviants. And Deviants are these like dog type creatures, but when they felt, X amount of years later, they, feel that they're being all killed or destroyed or in hiding, whatever the reason is, the Eternals decide to go in their own separate ways, live in their own lives, whatever that is for that particular Eternal. But in present day, when the Deviants come back, they have no choice but to assemble together, back together and stop the Deviants, as well the possibility of the end of the world as we know it. And the thing about it is, I do feel like this is going to be a movie that a lot of people are going to be like curious about everyone's opinion is. Like, I truly do. Mainly because of what on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like, last I checked, it was 60% of critics liking it. Like, it's, if you had 10 people in a room and they saw Eternals, 6 out of the 10 are going to like it. So everybody's curious, like, did you like it? Did you find it disappointing? Did you thought it was amazing? What's the situation? And for me, watching Eternals, I'm like, Marvel did it again. They did another great movie. I really did. Like, the whole time. Like, it's not perfect. I mean, the one thing I really, like, except the common complaints that kind of are linked to most of the MCU films, which is the villain's a bit weak and there's not really much of a villain. It's like just there. They're basically there so the heroes can punch something. That's basically the reason. But one of, I think, the major criticisms that I have is mostly in the first act. Because after this issue, the movie just flows like perfectly. But I wish that it went a little bit, like the editing and the nature of the story was a little bit more streamlined. Because the story is set in several decades, several centuries, where we're in 500 BC and 2000, 2020 BC, AD, and all that kind of stuff. And for me personally, jumping back and forward, it did feel a little bit crooked, a little bit jarring, a little bit hard to figure out when are we in modern day and when we are in flashback mode to give us the background of the Eternals and give us a sense of that dynamic. For me personally, I wish it was a little bit more streamlined, where we're like, hey, let's, after the Marvel time cut, let's start this. Hey, we're in like 2000 AD, 200 AD, and we just keep going, and then we're in present day, and then we tell the story of them, grouping up again and fighting Deviants. And for me, that would just give the movie a little bit more sense and a little bit more pace towards it. But the rest of this movie is just really well put together. Because what you have here is, it's all about the relationships, really. And I think that's what is key with Marvel. Is that, yes, the villain might not be the best in the world. Maybe there's this part, maybe there's that part. But at the end of the day, it's the relationships and the characters themselves. Like, the dynamic of them together is fantastic. You got, what's the man's character? Lessig, who's kind of like the Superman type character. I mean, hell, he flies and shoots laser beams out of his eyes. If that's not Superman type, I don't know what he is. They call it laser vision. He's heat vision. Clearly, heat vision was taken. Anyway, but what he's the leader, and his dynamic, he's very stern, very like, he's very serious. Then you got Thena, who's played by the fantastic, amazing, goddess on all actors in Hollywood right now, Angelina Jolie. She's a immortal with Alzheimer's. She's flipping in and out with her own personality. She's like, her, Thena acts like Thena, but then occasionally she's attacking people because that's her response because of the, the Alzheimer's. You got Karen Jeremiah's character being, fully Bollywood actor, like, oh my god, let's record. Like, his flippant psych, I would say this, like, if you want to ask, like, who you think is probably the best character, probably it is probably Angelina Jolie's character. But the second's probably Karen Jeremiah's character. I really fucking love his character. He's great comedy, great comedic timing. He's, like, for sure, like, the Robin, you may say, to his character. Oh my god. Yes. I was like, what? Because Karen Jeremiah's character is all about, like, let's take a documentary. And it's like, and the rest of the team is like, can you turn off the camera? Can you please turn off the camera? Can you? No? Oh. Okay, and they like knocking cameras and breaking cameras, and it's really well put together. All that. You got Spike, who is probably the one who feels the most emotional weight out of it, because she's immortal and she's stuck in like a 12-year-old body. And she reminds me of like Kristen Dunst's character from Interview with a Vampire, who wants to live a normal life, who wants to, fall in love and have a family and do these things, but you can't because you are basically a X-year person inside like a 12-year-old body, a 12-year-old girl body, and it's that like frustration of it, and I'm like, that it really reminds me of that character with Spike, and I thought that would be I thought her character was really well put together as well. Cersei, played by Jenna Chan, is probably, like, the common theme is like she is the weakest link. It's just like, it's the whole thing, like, you're fine, but all the other supporting characters, the other members of the team, are a hell of a lot more interesting than our main one that we are meant to follow. And it's just, like, she's fine. Her story is fine. I mean, Jenna Chan's acting in this is top notch. It's really well put together. But I kind of did feel, yeah, she's the weakest link. And yeah, this is a really well put together movie. I mentioned some of the problems. I found this movie absolutely great, entertaining. If you're gonna ask me why I think some of the critics did not like this movie, I just think they're disappointed that it's not a Best Winner, it's not a Best Picture nominee, because it's Chloe Zhao, and Chloe Zhao directed her last film that she did, or that at least we saw, was Nomadland, that gave her 2 Academy Awards this year. And then there's Eternal, so everybody kind of have this, certain people might have this high expectation that it's going to be a Best Winner, and it's going to be a Best Picture nominee, and when it isn't, you kind of get a little bit disappointed. Your expectations are so high, and when it doesn't meet slightly those expectations, it delows it. And yeah, I think that's mainly the main reason. But yeah, this is a pretty well put together movie, and it's another tick for the MCU movie for me. Even the weakest MCU movies like Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World, I still enjoy those films. So yeah, just, God damn it, Kevin Feige, keep doing it again.